Thank you very much. Okay, members, let's go to the 10th item on the agenda, the last main briefing item. Ms. Messer on the Delta Plan Progress Report. We've had a little bit of it to date, and Mr. Coolidge. Yeah.
You want to draw a plate for you.
I like being anonymous.
Okay, there you go. All right, well, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to kick this off, and Keith and I are going to tag team a little bit. Oh, am I on? Can you? Okay, I can hear myself. So, as you may have noticed reading through the staff report, this is a bit of a collection of different items, but obviously all related to our shift from Delta Plan development to Delta Plan implementation. So what I wanted to start off with was just a brief update on where we're at with the Delta Plan publication, so the final plan, and then some information about where we're at with posting the regulations and publishing the regulations, the California Code of Regulations. So maybe I'll start with that. Our regulations are indeed in the California Code of Regulations. They can be found online. What I can do is provide the website to Angela and Pat maybe for the...
I think, as a matter of fact, we just posted, I saw it right after lunch, haven't read it completely, our ALO, Administrative Law or Rule Regulation website, and I think there was a jump to the language and the dates, but I'm not positive about that. But I think so.
Okay, we can double check because that would actually be the easier route from what I gathered from the folks at OAL to find the regulations otherwise. So yes, they are now on our website, all of the final documents that were submitted to the Office of Administrative Law, so the final regulatory text, the final statement of reason, and several other documents. So when folks go to our website under the rulemaking tab, they'll see those final documents. We've moved all the older stuff into archives, so it's very clean, and they should be able to get all of the information they need from our site as of this morning. So in terms of final Delta Plan publication, we are targeting to have the final PDF files of the document to our office by early next week, and we will then post those on our website. So the final Delta Plan will be available on our website next week. At the same time, we'll be sending a duplicate set of those files.
This is a clean version of it.
Clean version, yes, clean version. We'll be sending the same files to the printer to start to that process. Now, I realized in reading my staff report long after I wrote it that I mentioned we'll be distributing them at the end of this month. Printing will start next week, so we'll be distributing them in batches, some of the hard copies, over the next several weeks. And I know I've been trying to keep Councilmember Natoli apprised of when that hard copy is going to be available.
By pen and ink, no doubt.
Yes, right, absolutely.
Via pigeon.
So we're still working a bit on distribution list, but we'll get that figured out, and hard copies will start to go out. We have some state requirements, and of course we have our list of council members and others that would like to receive hard copies of the Delta Plan.
But you can't have a signing party without having a hard copy to sign, right?
This is true, absolutely. So it's like a yearbook signing, right?
Okay.
Tombstone.
Okay, so I think that's all I have for distribution and regulations and whatnot, unless there's any questions on that item. That's probably the easy item in this discussion.
All right.
So the next couple of items, this is where Keith and I are going to kind of tag team, but what we wanted to do today was to give the council some information about, and maybe a little bit more detailed information than the discussions earlier today, about where we're at with our online consistency determination process. So the checklist, the forms that have popped up, I know occasionally over the last 3 years, and obviously we're at the point now where we're finalizing the system and the forms. And then we've also developed a training program. We're almost done with that. We've been working very diligently to put together an agenda for training local and state agency folks on the consistency determination process. And I think maybe I'll turn it over to Keith to dive in a little bit about what that agenda looks like and the schedule that we're rolling out with training.
Sure. Well, as you know, the
Get that closer to you. There.
Red, yes. I couldn't remember if we were in the room where they were automatically on or if we were in the room where
Only
you
the
had
director of our communications program, right?
Can you hear me now?
Usually doesn't need the microphone, come on.
All right, well, as you know, the regulatory policies in the Delta Plan take effect on September 1st. And so we will have in place by then an online form that will help local agencies make their consistency determinations and walk through all of the steps that are going to be required to support those and develop an administrative record should it be appealed. It can be as detailed as they want to make it, but it must meet certain conditions that are either spelled out by the Delta Reform Act or by our own administrative procedures, which you all adopted back in September of 2010. So in order to help both the agencies, state and local agencies, work through this, as well as our own staff, familiarity and setting up early consultations, we're going to do some training. We're going to start with a couple of folks from the Department of Water Resources this week coming up, as well as Fish and Game. And then we're doing 2 general sessions for state and local agencies in early September on the 11th and the 16th. They are 2-hour sessions, and they will cover everything that we expect they need to know, both about what our expectations are, what kind of judgments they should be making, because the consistency determination is theirs to make, not ours, and then to get into the appeals process and what they would need to buttress their case should it come up on appeal. So real briefly, we're going to spend 2 hours with the agencies. We're going to take about 15 minutes and go over the background of the Delta Reform Act, what the legislature was, we think, intended the Delta Plan to be and do, what we intended as the council for the Delta Plan to be and do, the purpose of the plan, and what it covers. That as background. You have to be consistent with the plan, but the heart of it is the 14 regulatory policies, and so that is what we're going to spend most of our time dealing with in terms of consistency. We will spend about 45 minutes then walking through what it means to certify, what each of the policies is intended to achieve, and how it was written, what we're looking for, what agencies need to be considering as they think, are we consistent with this particular policy? There are some policies that may not apply to your project. There are some policies that apply that perhaps you can't meet, and you will need to provide some basis of understanding why you think you are consistent with the overall plan, if not this specific section, and why that's an overriding consideration for moving forward. Those are the kinds of things that we're going to cover there, and we're going to do it with 4 or 5 staff members, again relying primarily on, we call them subject matter experts. They're the policy authors, basically, to talk about what's intended there. We'll spend some time going over what is a covered action. How do you, as a state or local agency, determine whether or not you're a covered action? We can offer advice. It is non-binding advice. I suspect that folks would like us to say, yes, we agree, this is exactly what you should submit, and if you do exactly what we say, then if it comes up on appeal, the council will uphold you and you'll be fine and we'll sign it here, but we can't offer that kind of advice. So it's non-binding, but it is our best help in guiding someone through what the Delta Plan says, what is a covered action, what are the exemptions, what is the litmus test of whole or in part in the Delta, significant impact on one of the co-equal goals, et cetera. And then we're going to walk through online forms. We have tried to make this the easiest way.
These are the current versions of the ones we've been
We've
talking
been batting
to folks
about
for a couple of
on
years
paper
now, right?
here,
Yes.
Yeah.
but it's really come down to relatively simple. I've even been able to navigate through them, but you can go policy by policy. You can determine if you're consistent. A box will pop up to say, please upload supporting documentation. If you're not, a box will question why you think it is, and will give you a prompt for some of the reasons why we think you might not be consistent. Or if it's not applicable, then another box will pop up and tell you the reason why, the acceptable reason why maybe you're not, and give you an opportunity to say yes to that or to provide additional justification. All of that then is automatically filed with the council. Notifications will go out as soon as we formally accept it, so that it will go up on the website, and folks will know both through our email list. You can sign up to be notified the minute any consistency determination is filed, and that then triggers its own 30-day window for someone to appeal the project. Which we will be encouraging folks to sign up for the notification so that they can read all about the project, what the supporting materials say, and decide whether they want to agree that it is consistent or would like to file an appeal. All of this is online and will trigger then electronic notifications that we hope will get this out in the broadest possible manner.
Fair to say that the big benefit of following the online procedure, because I understand you don't have to follow the online
That's
procedure,
correct. Yes.
but the big benefit of following the online procedure is that if you are appealed and there is such a short 30-day window to get ready to respond to that appeal, that you have most of your record already created.
It absolutely will streamline, allow you to upload as you're going the justifications that become your administrative record, yes. And it's really a 10-day window after the appeal is filed to pull the administrative record
Right.
together. So I think as anyone who's been working on ours will know, it's an extensive process.
Good, thanks.
Don?
Yeah, just a question, in light of some of the fascinating back and forth between our chair and Dr. Goodwin and others on the Delta Science Plan, will you touch on the relationship, the Delta Science Plan, adaptive management, some of the assistance will be there? You were talking about covered actions, but there's a lot of kind of dual coverage when it comes to this. So will that be a part?
Absolutely. When we get to the very first policy, GP1, which covers both CEQA as well as the use of adaptive management and best available science, we'll be working through what does that mean, how do you determine it, and when you click, yes, I'm consistent with this policy, what do you upload as supporting, as detailed findings for that determination?
Okay, and I think it kind of reinforces, at least in my mind, what the chair was saying about having, the examples, just as you were going to do with the covered actions or consistency determinations, and some, here are some, examples of doing that.
Right.
I think obviously with the Delta Science, I think, and I heard some of the responses. I
We-
think that will be good for folks, so they can kind of go in there and kind of give some thoughtful reflection on, what do I need to provide, and maybe folks that are expert in the field won't have any problem with it. Others who may be a little more novice at it, or certainly for the early goings of all of this, is going to be new to everybody involved. What is it you're asking for? What are you looking for? And your ability to help in that regard. So,
Yes.
We expect this will do two things. One, we will be providing real-world examples, and of course that the real-world examples will grow as more actions are filed. But it will also reinforce, I think, for everyone, the importance of early consultations, where you can have these kinds of discussions about specific projects. And in the 2-hour training, we're not going to be talking a lot about any one specific project, but that's the opportunity to encourage you to come in for early consultation.
Are you doing any big projects on your ranch so we could use your ranch as a kind of a target test?
We need a guinea pig.
I had really hoped that Joe Grindstaff would come forward with a water transfer that we could do the first.
And Galt is just outside the limits of the Delta, right?
It is, yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Is Natoli Park outside the limits?
I don't know.
Yes, you do. Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Any questions? Pat? Okay, all right.